Welcome to Real Healing with Elena. Hi, I'm Elena, a board-certified naturopathic doctor, functional medicine certified health coach, and someone who spent years doing everything right and yet still felt terrible. This podcast exists because healing is not as complicated as the wellness industry wants you to think, but it is more layered than most people are told. Every week, we go deep into root cause health, detox, drainage, mold, nervous system, supplements, mindset, spirit, the whole picture. Because your body, your mind, and your spirit are not separate problems. They're all one system, and guess what? They heal together. If you're functioning, but know you're not thriving, you're in the right place. Now, let's dive in. Hi friends, and welcome back. Okay, a few episodes ago, I talked about the hormone life cycle. I'll put the link for that episode below if you want to go watch it later. But I break down the 4 stages of the hormone life cycle, and I'm talking about our sex hormones, our estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And so the 4 stages are production. The hormones get produced. Once they're produced, they move into circulation and action. They do their job. After the job is done, they get broken down, metabolized. And then after that, they get eliminated, which then sends us back to stage 1 and so forth. The feedback that I got was that this finally makes sense. I understand my body and what's happening. But here's what I didn't tell you in that episode that I want to cover today. I started at stage 1. I explained what happens once production begins, but I never told you what triggers the production in the first place. And that's what I want to cover. And more importantly, I never told you what stops production before it even begins. Because for a lot of people, that's exactly what's happening. The signal to actually produce never fully gets through. The raw material gets redirected. And the hormones your body was supposed to make, again, these sex hormones, whether it's estrogen, progesterone, or testosterone, they never get made. So today we're going back to the very beginning, and we're going to talk about the hidden forces that are stealing your hormone production before it even starts. So if you don't know me, my name is Elena. I'm a board-certified naturopathic doctor. I'm a functional medicine certified health coach and a detox and drainage specialist. This topic is very personal for me as a woman. I am in perimenopause myself. I'll be 47 in about a month. I have one ovary that I've had, only one ovary since 2010. And I am sailing through perimenopause with the only symptom being longer cycles. And then on the men's side, I have a huge passion. I've got 3 boys, plus I've seen the men in my life be thoroughly affected by it. So this is really, really personal to me. And I want to share why my clients and I are sailing through this transition of life and how you can too. So let's dive in. Today, we're going upstream. Before the body produces a single hormone, before any of those 4 stages of the life cycle ever even begin, there has to be a signal. And that signal starts in the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is in the brain. Think of it as the master control system of your entire hormone system. It sits in your brain, it reads what your body needs, and then it sends a message down to the pituitary gland. The pituitary, sometimes called the master gland, receives message from the hypothalamus and then sends its own signal down to the organs and glands that actually produce your hormones. Your ovaries, your adrenal glands, your thyroid, for men, your testes. That chain, the hypothalamus to the pituitary to the targeted gland, is called the HPG axis for reproductive hormones, the hypothalamus pituitary gonad axis for those reproductive hormones. You have the HPA axis, the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis for your stress hormones, and the HPT axis, your hypothalamus pituitary thyroid for your thyroid hormones. Now, you don't need to memorize these terms. I just needed you to understand what they are for this episode. They all run through the same control center. The hypothalamus is managing all of them simultaneously, all day, every single day. And that matters enormously because of what happens when the system gets overwhelmed. So here's where it gets really important. All of your steroid hormones, your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, cortisol, DHEA, they all start from the same raw material. That raw material is called pregnenolone. Pregnenolone is often called the mother hormone because everything downstream gets made from it or made from her. Your body takes cholesterol, yes, cholesterol, which is why you actually need healthy cholesterol levels in your body, and it converts it into pregnenolone. And from pregnenolone, your body makes whatever hormone it needs based on the feedback it's gotten, right, from the hypothalamus down. So now here is where the steal happens, because there's a steal that can occur. Your body has a built-in hierarchy. Survival always, always, always comes first. And the hormone that keeps you alive in a threat when you're in survival mode is cortisol, the stress hormone. So when your body perceives stress, any kind of stress, it gets a signal to make cortisol and to make it now. And guess what it does? It makes cortisol. So it redirects pregnenolone toward cortisol production. It's stealing production from all the other hormones because your body needs to survive. Your body's perceptive and it's perceiving, whether you're consciously perceiving it or subconsciously, when it perceives that it needs to survive, surviving in this moment is way more important than your menstrual cycle, your libido, your energy, or your mood. So this is called pregnenolone steal or cortisol steal. And what it means in plain language is this: the raw material your body was supposed to use to make your sex hormones, it got used to make cortisol instead, trying to keep you alive, because staying alive is way more important than reproduction. So before stage 1 of the hormone life cycle ever even began, the building block was already gone. It was stolen to survive. This is why women in chronic stress have hormonal chaos that has nothing to do with their age. This is why men lose testosterone, not just from aging, but from a body that is constantly in survival mode. The supply chain got hijacked upstream at the very beginning, before it even got the signal to make the hormone. So now I want to talk about the stress you don't even know you're carrying. Because here's a piece that surprises most people. When I say stress, you probably picture work deadlines, an argument with your spouse, financial pressures, the kind of stress that you can name and feel consciously. And for me, this was a huge part of my own healing journey. I'm not going to get into that now, but I spent so many years doing all the physical work, and eventually my doctor had said, there's nothing physical left to do. You've done all of it. Although in hindsight, I hadn't. That's a different topic. But he's like, you have to work on the stress. In my mind, I was like, I have no stress. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I get to do all the things and volunteer and show up and drive carpool and all that. Well, your perceived stress is not the same as what your body is actually perceiving. So the conscious stress, what we're aware of, and subconscious can be very different. Because your conscious mind, the part that you are aware of, that is thinking right now, that knows it is stressed, that represents only maybe 5 to 7% of your total brain chemistry, of your total nervous system activity. The other 93 to 95% is all in the subconscious. You're completely unaware of it. It's running in the background constantly without your awareness. And your body cannot tell the difference between your conscious stress and your subconscious one, between your perceived stress or the unconscious stress. It responds in the exact same way. Cortisol, fight or flight, pregnenolone redirecting, that cortisone steal, pregnenolone steal. So what is running in that subconscious background? What is it? Well, more than what most people realize. Your phone buzzes, your Apple Watch taps your wrist for a notification. The notification pops up, and another one. Your nervous system registers each one of those things as something that requires your attention. Something might be wrong. Stay alert. Those things keep your nervous system active. It can't come down into the parasympathetic rest or digest when it's in this fight or flight. And when it's constantly on, waiting for that next alert, waiting for what's to come, you stay stuck in the sympathetic nervous system loop. I could go on and on about this. Actually, I have a whole episode about the nervous system and why it's important. I'll put that link below. Another one, eating your lunch in your car or between meetings on the go, scrolling while you eat dinner, falling asleep with the television on. Your body never fully comes down. It never gets the signal that says, we are safe, we can rest, we can restore. And then there's another layer underneath even all of that. The stress that isn't even emotional or psychological at all, but that your body is registering as a threat just as loudly. So now I want to dive into the stress inside the body. This is the piece that connects everything I talk about, and most people have never heard it framed in this way. Toxic burden is a stressor. Mold in the body, heavy metals, environmental toxins and chemicals, pathogens, parasites, endocrine disrupting chemicals, the pesticides, the plastics, the chemicals in your personal care products, and your cleaning supplies. The list goes on. It creates chronic, low-grade infection, gut dysbiosis, chronic inflammation, and your body is registering all of this as a threat. Constantly, silently, and often slowly. You don't feel it the way you feel a panic attack or a hard conversation or a bill that just showed up. Your nervous system feels these toxic burden threats constantly. Your hypothalamus feels it, your adrenal glands feel it, and they respond the exact same way. Make cortisol, stay alert, stay alive, stay in survival mode. Now, you might not be aware of this, but this is running constantly nonstop in the back. This is the feedback that your hypothalamus, that control center, is getting. And this is why people can do all the meditation work, all the breath work in the world. My favorite, ground every day, hug trees, live in nature, but still feel exhausted and hormonally wrecked because the stress isn't coming from their calendar. It's not coming from the outside. It's coming from inside the body. It is also why cleaning the terrain, I'm talking about opening up drainage pathways, reducing the toxic burden, healing the gut. It is not just a physical health strategy. It is a nervous system intervention. And when you reduce the toxic load, you reduce one of the biggest hidden stressors of chronic stress in your body that you're not aware of, but is carrying every single day. When you do all of these things, the cortisol demand drops, and then the pregnenolone can start doing what it was supposed to do. Go where it was supposed to go. Now you're not in survival. Now it's not stealing the cortisol to stay alive. Now it can go to your sex hormones. The body knows we're safe. It's okay to actually reproduce. When the body feels like it can reproduce, whether you're trying to or not, that's when it's going to start making those sex hormones, because your body naturally wants to make babies. That's how we were designed to. That's how the human race continues. But you cannot meditate your way out of a body full of mold, toxins, heavy metals, pathogens, parasites. But you can do the terrain work, and you can watch your stress response change because of it. And guess what? I know, because I've done it. I've experienced it. So I also want to touch on sleep, because it's not separate from this. It lives right inside of this conversation. Cortisol is supposed to follow a rhythm. High in the morning when you get out of bed and get moving. It helps you get the day going, but then it's supposed to decline throughout the day so that melatonin can rise and they can go to bed. The cortisol should be low at night so your body can rest and repair. But when cortisol is chronically elevated for all the reasons I mentioned above, stuck in this fight or flight, even unconsciously, that natural rhythm breaks and cortisol stays high at night. When cortisol stays high, it blocks melatonin production. When melatonin production is blocked, which is your hormone that signals your body it's time to sleep, then you lie there. It's hard to go to sleep when cortisol is high and melatonin is low. It needs to be the opposite. So you end up lying there, tired but wired. The mind that keeps going and doesn't turn off. You can't fall asleep. This isn't a willpower thing. This is because a hormonal cascade effect. And because you didn't sleep well, guess what happens now? The cortisol spikes again the next morning to compensate. But now it keeps it high again because you're so freaking tired and it's trying to keep you going. Again, this is not a willpower problem. This is not anxiety in the way that most people think of it. This is a cortisol rhythm that has been disrupted by all of the stressors I talked about earlier, feeding a cycle that keeps itself going. Poor sleep also directly impairs your body's ability to produce and regulate sex hormones. So now you have pregnenolone still happening. Instead of going to sex hormones, it's getting stolen to make cortisol, and a sleep debt driving the cortisol demand even higher. This is why so many women in perimenopause feel like everything fell apart at once. It didn't. It built up over years, and sleep was one of those threads being pulled the whole time. So now I want to talk about a few things that you can do about it. I want to give you something real and practical here. And this is not a list of supplements. This is not a protocol. Just things that you can start doing now that can help your nervous system, and you'll actually feel it. Now, the first one is the simplest and the most underestimated. Deep belly breathing. This is one of my absolute favorite. It costs absolutely nothing. You can do anytime and anywhere. And I'm not talking about the shallow chest breathing that most of us do all day. I'm talking about true diaphragmatic breathing, where your belly expands on the inhale and then it collapses on the exhale. So if you place your hand over your chest, and I know you can't see my belly, but put your other hand over your belly, just sit here for a moment and breathe. Take a deep breath in and see what rises. Does the hand on your chest rise or does your belly rise? I'm going to guess that your chest rose. Most of us, especially when we're in fight or flight, we take a breath and that chest rises. That is a very, very shallow breath. Now, if you look at a baby, when they're breathing, the belly is rising and falling. For any of you mamas out there, or dads too, if you look at a baby who's sleeping, you look at their belly. Is it rising or falling? That is how we should breathe. When we are breathing deep into our belly, the diaphragm is getting really full of air. So not only are we getting a lot more oxygen that can circulate through the body, and the cascade goes on from there, but you're also activating the vagus nerve and signaling the body that it is safe. When we are in shallow breathing, the nervous system is perceiving that we're under threat and we need to run and get out of here. But that deep, deep breath actually activates this parasympathetic nervous system and tells the body it's safe. We actually have the time and the ability to breathe, get in full oxygen. So simply doing like 3 of these a day, and this was hard for me in the beginning when I started doing this many years ago, and I find honestly it's easier to do it laying down, but focus on your belly like a balloon. And when you breathe in, you want your belly to expand like a balloon, and you want that hand that's on your belly to grow. And so as you breathe in, see how big you can get that balloon of your belly. And then when you can't expand it anymore, then hold your breath for a little bit. And then when you breathe out, you want that balloon to deflate. You want your hand on your belly to come in. And I always try to think of your belly button trying to reach your spine. And when you exhale, get out as much of that breath as you can. Okay, I didn't intend to go that much into it, but that is diaphragmatic breathing. That's how you get deep belly breathing. That's how you get oxygen, air deep into your lungs. It is the easiest way I found to activate the parasympathetic nervous system and get into this state. It can be done anywhere, and it doesn't have to be long. You don't have to do this for like 15, 20 minutes. Literally 3 to 5 breaths help. It was actually when I first learned to do it, it was recommended to do before every single meal so that I'm actually putting my body in a state of rest and digest so I can actually digest my food. I've probably been doing this for almost 10 years. I still can't think to do before a meal. Now, I do prayer before a meal, which puts me in a mindfulness state, which helps. But it's funny because I love this breath. I go to it all the time. I still don't think to do it before my meals. But if you do, it's great. It's a great way to prepare your body for digestion. You can do it before a meeting. This is great. Or a conversation that you need to have. Watching the news, which I don't recommend doing anymore. But something is stressful and you find yourself getting anxious or holding tight like this, just take a few breaths. Definitely before bed. I always do this, especially if I find my mind is getting turned on, like it was last night about planning this episode. And so if I turn to my breath and just focus on my breath, not only is it taking my thoughts away from my mind that's starting to spin, and which is getting cortisol to rise, it's going to make it harder to go to sleep. I am now refocusing my attention to my breath, which is going to help stop that cycle of overthinking. But second, I'm now focusing on these deep breaths, which is going to activate my parasympathetic nervous system, and it's going to stop that cortisol steal, right? So now I can go to sleep. So doing this before bed, especially if you find that your mind is starting to go, is one of the easiest ways to activate rest time. I love this. I went on to it longer than I expected, but if you can't tell, this is one of my favorite and easiest things to do. Now, I will say practice when you don't need it, so that when you do need it, it's just a second nature. And for me, what worked was practicing at a light. Every time I came to a red light, I was like, I'm going to practice my breathing until it turns green again. And that way, when I needed it, it just came on. Anyway, or lying before bed. But again, and I tell clients this all the time, practice it when you don't need it, so that when you really do, when you're in a tough situation or on an airplane, I don't mind flying. Turbulence, I don't love. I turn to my breathing. I don't think about it because it's just second nature. I've done it so much. Does that make sense? So as I mentioned, doing this activates the parasympathetic response, that rest and digest state, and it begins to lower cortisol in real time naturally without having to take any supplements or adding anything else. It's free. It's just your body. You don't need an app to do it. You don't need 15 minutes. I really find that simply 3 breaths can make a huge difference. So start there. Try it today. Okay, second, this is another one of my absolute favorites, grounding. This is so easy, you guys. It's another one that's free. Literally putting your bare feet on the earth. Grass, dirt, sand, rocks, whatever. Get your feet on the earth. The research on this is more substantial than most people realize. Direct contact with the earth has measurable effects on cortisol and inflammation. Simply 5 minutes outside barefoot is not nothing. It is everything. And honestly, like when it's cold outside, I hate being cold. So touch a tree, hug a tree. Sometimes I feel weird hugging a tree, but I love the tree. Just put your hand on it, both hands on it, hold it. You're making connection with the earth. It is powerful. I love grounding. It takes no time at all. And remember I talked about the mind? It doesn't matter like what the conscious or subconscious, it is what it is. If I have a client who lives in a high rise and it is very hard for her to get outside to do grounding when she needs it, she's a nurse and works overnight hours. And so we visualize it. I mean, she does, but that's what we have worked at doing together. Laying in bed and visualizing. The mind doesn't know the difference. The body will pick up that you're actually grounding. It's really, really cool. I love working with the mind. It's probably my favorite thing ever. Okay, third, another absolute favorite, and one of my regulars is Epsom salt baths. Y'all, I recommend this to all of my clients for so many reasons, but I'm going to touch a little bit here. Magnesium that you get from the Epsom salts absorbs transdermally, meaning that you actually absorb it through your skin. Magnesium is one of the first minerals that gets depleted by chronic stress, and it is essential for cortisol regulation, sleep, and muscle relaxation. So a warm bath, and I say warm, but honestly, especially for detox purposes, make it as hot as you can, but not scalding. Don't burn yourself. Just as hot as you can tolerate. That will allow you to be in there for at least 20, 30 minutes. And the heat will actually help open your pores so you start sweating, so you're going to detox at the same time. So not only are you absorbing this magnesium, that's the first thing to get stolen under stress and that your body needs to control, like I said, the cortisol, help with sleep and relaxation. So you're going to absorb that, but you're also going to open up your pores and start sweating so you can start detoxing the crud out of your body. You can also add Epsom salt flakes. You can add borax. You can add apple cider vinegar. You can add baking soda. Anyway, the list goes on. Dead sea salt. Sometimes I put a whole little variety in there, especially in the evening. Add a little lavender essential oils and make this like a whole experience. You can do it silently in mindfulness, or I like to go to YouTube and just find like a sound bowl bath and let it play in the background. The possibilities are endless. Turn the lights low. And this doesn't cost very much. Epsom salts are pretty inexpensive. And I know I went into this whole list of things you can add, but I honestly, more than not, just simply put in a bunch of Epsom salt. I'll often tell people start with 1 or 2 cups and do it in hot water that you can tolerate that allow you to stay in there for 20 to 30 minutes. It's one of the easiest and most gentle and most effective nervous system supports that I recommend. I love it. I can go on and on about that one too. Okay, fourth, mindfulness woven into what you are already doing. You don't need to sit in silence for 20 minutes. You need to do the dishes without a podcast. And when I'm saying mindfulness, be mindful of what you're doing in the moment. So take away distraction. So like I said, doing the dishes without a podcast, just be mindful that I'm doing dishes and paying attention to what does the water feel like? How many dishes do I have? How many have gone away? Just being mindful and aware of what you're doing, that puts your body in a present moment. That changes everything. Another example would be like walking to your car and actually feeling your feet on the ground, the air around you. What sounds are you listening to? So instead of scrolling while you're walking, pay attention to what's around you. What are you feeling? Can you taste the air? What are you smelling? What are you hearing? Same thing if you're going on a walk or a run. So many people, and I used to do this too, put your earbuds in and listen to keep you motivated. Well, stop that. Go for that walk, go for that run, but listen, pay attention, look for the beauty in the world. Listen, what's the loudest sound you can hear? And then listen, what are the most quiet sounds you can hear? What do you smell? What do you feel on your skin? What does the ground feel like? The crunch, if you're walking on gravel or you're walking on concrete, go walk on the grass. Sometimes I'll take my shoes off in the neighborhood and walk barefoot around. I'm taking in all of these senses. I'm also getting the grounding. I'm doing so much work for my nervous system with just a 5-minute stroll sometimes. And often if I have to go find my dog that got out, I'm doing all of this at one time. So I'm recruiting my dog, grounding, mindful, all the things. Anyway, but when you are fully present in a simple task, your nervous system reads it as safe. Y'all, this is huge. When you're fully present in a simple task, your nervous system reads it as safe. All that constant background noise, the inputs and the alerts start to go quiet, and then your nervous system can go quiet too and get into that rest and digest. And then there's the phone and the watch. I'm not going to tell you to throw them away, but I am going to suggest this. Pick one time a day, dinner with your family maybe, or a couple hours before bed when you're starting to wind down, where the phone goes in another room, the watch comes off. Not because technology is bad, but because your nervous system needs to practice being uninterrupted. It has forgotten what it feels like, and it needs just the quiet so that your body can come down. Now, for supplements, ashwagandha is one of my personal favorites for cortisol support. It's an adaptogen, meaning that it helps your body adapt to and regulate its stress response rather than just suppressing it. Now, I love ashwagandha, and while we are working on these other things, it can be a great support system, although supplements are supposed to be supplemental. So I always encourage people to do the lifestyle and foundational work first. But when times are needed and stress hits, ashwagandha is one of my favorites. I have others, but that's one of my easy go-to. And then there's meditation. I absolutely love meditation, but I won't lie, this was really, really hard for me. And so here's a tip. For anyone who struggles with traditional meditation, I want to recommend a book that genuinely changed how I think about it. And actually, I preferred it as an audiobook, and hearing her speak through the book helped me even more than reading it. It is Stress Less, Accomplish More by Emily Fletcher. She teaches a style of meditation that is approachable even for people who have tried it and failed, and this changed it all for me. It's not about clearing your mind. It's about giving your nervous system a real break. I love it, and I think you will too. Every single person that I have recommended this book to, it has changed their lives. So let's bring this all the way back. Your hormones do not just appear. They are triggered by a signal from a control center that is managing your entire body simultaneously. When that control center is overloaded with conscious stress, with subconscious stress and subconscious input, with toxic burden, with poor sleep, the signal gets rerouted. It gets rerouted to cortisol instead of your sex hormones. And this is happening in millions of people's bodies right now, every single day, every second of the day, quietly for years and years before a single lab marker ever shows that anything is unusual. This is why I keep saying disease begins long before diagnosis, and symptoms appear long before disease. And the body is always communicating this to you. We just weren't taught how to listen. So this information is yours. I want you to use it. And if you want a decade of trial and error compressed into a clear guided path with someone who knows how to read your body signals and build a plan that actually addresses the root, that is working with me. That's what I do, working with the root of what's actually going on with you. And if you want to dive a little bit deeper of what that means working with me and what my full approach is to healing body, mind, and soul, I have a free training. It's the complete framework, full blueprint. You can also from there take it and use it as you want. But if you want to work with me, there's a link in that too. I'll put the link below to watch that training. It walks you through exactly how I approach all of this work and what becomes possible when you stop managing symptoms and start healing the terrain, which allows you to really start living in body, mind, and soul. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you found it useful or helpful, Please like, comment, subscribe for more information like this. And please, please, please share this with somebody who needs it. That's how this information gets out there. I hope you have a wonderful day. I love you, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for spending this time with me today. I truly appreciate it. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone else who might need to hear it. That's how the message reaches those that it's meant for. And if what we talked about today got you thinking about what might actually be going on in your own body, I made something for you. It's a free training called Stop Managing Symptoms, Start Living. And it's the most complete explanation of my work that I have ever put together. I go over why chronic symptoms persist even when you seem to be doing everything right, what might be missing in other approaches, and what becomes possible when your body finally has the right conditions to heal. The link is in the show notes below. Go watch it. I think you'll really like it, and it'll change how you see what's been going on. Don't forget, subscribe wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode, and I'll see you on the next one. In the meantime, take care of yourself. You deserve it, and you are absolutely worth it. Have a blessed day.